Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Power Alley Podcast. This is Fresh, your host. Man, we got a lot to talk about today. MLB All-Star break just occurred. We had the MLB Draft there in Atlanta during the All-Star break. We're heading into the trade deadline, heading into the second part of the season. A lot of moving and shaking. This is kind of that turning point now into the stretch run of the postseason and really the exciting, obviously, time of baseball where who's going to compete for that World Series championship in the AL or NL pennant. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Really great to have you. We are part of the Spinnable Sports Network. You can find that at spinnablesports.com. You can also find us and any other podcast through the network on Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. That is free to subscribe. Please subscribe, tell your friends, pass it around. And obviously, you can also find us on Twitter, social media elements. Here, the Power Alley Podcast is at Power Alley Pod on Twitter, Twix, X, whatever you want to call it. You can also find Spinnable Sports at Spinnable Sports on Twitter/X. And you can also find our flagship podcast, which is mainly focused on college football. So that is really starting to heat up right now. The Irrational Confidence Podcast on all podcast platforms, as well as the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel and on Twitter/X at IR Confidence Pod. Get out there, join them up, hit us up on socials any way you want, whether it's baseball, whether it's college football, sports in general. We want to hear from you. We want to debate. We want your good takes, your bad takes. Tell us what we're right about. Tell us what we're wrong about. And if you want to follow me individually, I'm at SS_2fresh on Twitter and X. That is at SS_2fresh. SS is for Spinnable Sports, all part of the family there. So fun parts out of the way and kind of just hitting normal stuff. Let's talk about that first half of the season, really the All-Star break. Atlanta, I think they finally got the All-Star break. They did a fantastic job. Obviously, they wish they had a better team right now. But if you look at the first half of the season as a whole, there was some truly monumental moments. Right now, we're seeing a lot of great offense, especially from Cal Raleigh. You're seeing players who are really rising up and making things happen. Jeremy Pena jumping onto the scene. Obviously, he's hurt right now, which is really unfortunate. Definitely deserved his All-Star bid. But we're seeing a lot of great baseball for the most part across the board. And young players are stepping up. Organizational depth is being exposed in a good way, not a bad way. You're seeing teams being bold. You're seeing young players step up. The Red Sox are playing great baseball right now. The Blue Jays are playing great baseball right now. The Astros, so right now I'm going to give a shout out to the Astros and the Rays, the two of those organizations. The American League, how dominant it can be. They have refused to actually sign a lot of their players, let them walk, trade them away. And the young guys, their organizational development has pushed them back to being both in contention for a playoff spot. The Astros right now lead the AL West. The Rays are in a very much involved in the American League East and the American League wildcard situation. And that's just an organizational philosophy that both those clubs have really taken top to bottom. Sometimes you can't pay high dollars to some of these guys who are just really, really good. You've got to find ways to backfill and to be able to handle their loss and have somebody able to plug and play right off the bat. And also when injuries are going to happen. I don't care who you are, if you're the Yankees or if you're the Rockies or everyone in between. Injuries will happen to good players, bad players, in middle players, role players, bullpen, etc. You've got to find ways to accommodate for that and keep playing baseball. I think we can also say the same about the Brewers, the Astros, the three of them being able to compete at a very, very high level year in and year out for the past, I'm going to say 10 plus years. They find ways to develop guys. They get role players in the organization. They understand the philosophy and they get it done. One thing, though, that we are not seeing a successful turn across baseball is batting average. There's been a major change, a major shift recently of on base percentage. I think that is also it. And people are becoming much more acceptable to a high strikeout rate to a high slug rate, or a high strikeout rate to high home runs and RBIs. If they're hitting 210, but they're hitting 35 home runs, people are starting to become accepting of that. But one thing that really, in the past 25 years, there's been a major shift. And I've talked about this before at Codify Baseball on Twitter. Their handles at CODIFY, Codify Baseball, one word straight through. They do a fantastic job with a lot of metrics and a lot of data and data analysis across the board. I'm recording this episode as of July 18th at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So everything I'm going to be talking about is all the stats in the first half of the season, and we'll have a clean slate going forward. But right now, there are no teams in Major League Baseball in the first half of the year collectively as a team that are hitting at least 260. Everybody who's taken at bat for the organization so far at the Major League level in 2025. The team collective stat for each team, no team is hitting at least 260. It means 259 is the highest average at best, if that is even out there. But the stat is no team is hitting 260. In 2024, for the entire season, to put that in real perspective and what kind of talk about the shift, is in year 2000, there were 24 clubs at the end of the year in the regular season that hit at least 260. We had 24 in 2000. We have 0 through the first half of the year in 2025. Batting averages for across the team are going down. You might have one guy who's 275 or 300. Everybody else is hitting 250, 240, 230, 210, maybe high walk rates. The runs are up, which is ironic, but the batting averages are down. The peak number for this stat in 2006, 25 clubs hit 260 or better at the end of the season, of the regular season. So collective batting average right now, we're seeing a major decline, a lot more single digits in the past 10 to 15 years. OPS might be up, walk rates might be up, slug rate might be about the same, but collective batting averages are decreasing across baseball. I thought it was pretty interesting from Codified Baseball they put out there today. You can find it right now on Twitter. Hit them up. They have a lot of great stats from that perspective. They do error rates, hit rates, home run rates at a team level, so it's pretty cool to follow them. As I mentioned earlier, it's the All-Star break. We just wrapped it up. We're heading into the second half today. We kind of look at the All-Star scenarios and the roster selection. Voting for the players, the starters, can be kind of controversial. I think they actually did a pretty decent job this year, the fans-wise and the players selecting. There's obviously going to be some snubs, be some good players that made it. But one cool thing on the initial roster announcement, because obviously we have injuries, we have guys who played on Sunday, especially from a pitching perspective, who aren't going to contribute, not going to play. So they basically waived themselves from making the trip. But at the initial roster announcement, in 2025, we had 19 first-time All-Stars, which shows there's a lot of youth, a lot of guys who had a great first half and got a chance to really showcase that and be honored for their success. Looking at two deserving players, though, in the first half that I really wanted to pop out that made the team initially. I mentioned Jeremy Pena, the shortstop for the Astros. He's injured, didn't have a chance to play. I thought he's erupted defensively and offensively, really good player. Hopefully he gets healthy and can come back and really deliver in the second half and help the Astros get across the threshold. But right now they do have a glaring need at shortstop until he comes back. The other, last year was a down year for Corbin Carroll. I mean, he had a great year in 23, 24. He really struggled. In 25, him getting that All-Star nod, he has 10 triples in the first half. I don't care what the rest of the stats are. That shows he's producing, his speed is in play. He's hitting the ball in the right spots and taking off. The Diamondbacks have been a really rough. They started off pretty real hot, and they've kind of trickled off here in late May and June. Had a lot of injuries piling up. Corbin was injured for a little bit too. He was able to play in the All-Star game a little bit, but he is one player that I was truly, really excited to see. I was worried that his injury might have carried him too far through and wouldn't have been able to play in the All-Star break and the All-Star game. So getting him out there, getting him to Atlanta was really, really cool. Some major snubs, no matter what was the initial outtake of the All-Star roster or anyone who came on as alternates. Trey Turner not making it. Seiya Suzuki not making it. How can I know he had PCA and he had Kyle Tucker for the Cubs, but Suzuki, RBIs and home runs, up there with anybody else in baseball. He should have been there, even as a backup, coming in as second or third lever. I don't care if we have 3 Cub outfielders. I'm a Brewers fan. Yes, I wouldn't want to see Cubs there, but the guy's deserving. Seiya Suzuki should have been there. And one that really jumped out to me, and I had a big, big problem with Julio Rodriguez making the All-Star team as an alternate. Taylor Ward of the Angels. He has 21 home runs. He had been crushing the baseball. How does he, after all the players who opted out, couldn't make it, injuries, everything, Taylor Ward of the Angels does not get a ticket to the All-Star game? That hurt me. I think that stings. Hopefully he goes and has a great second half. Hopefully he enjoys All-Star break vacation. But Taylor Ward should have been in Atlanta for the American League. There's some other players that probably were on fringe. And I think that, I know you have rosters, you have to have a second baseman, shortstops, first baseman, third baseman, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think you could have found an extra outfield spot or a DH spot for Taylor Ward and got him in there. Kikuchi, the pitcher for the Angels, is the only representative. I was like, come on. I mean, Adele had a good first half. Taylor Ward had a good first half. Mike Trout showing some signs in the first half. We could have found something. We could have rewarded them as opposed to just Kikuchi, who had a pretty solid first half pitching wise, but there's a little more star power in the outfield in the offensive production side for the Angels. We all get the glitz and glam of PCA, Ani, Aaron Judge, all the big names that make the All-Star game, the stars you want to see out there. Quietly an All-Star. Alejandro Kirk, the catcher for the Blue Jays. Aroldis Chapman. what a resurrection story. He's kind of drifted around, been bounced around a couple bullpens across the league lately. With the Red Sox, put together a stellar first half out of the pen, got himself there. Jonathan Aranda for the Rays, Brandon Donovan for the Cardinals, and Freddie Peralta. As much love as the Brewers have gotten for Logan Henderson, Jacob Mizorowski, Freddie Peralta, the ace of the staff, quietly putting together an amazing first half of the year. Took himself and pitched on Sunday, had a break, didn't pitch in the game, give him a chance to sort of set and re-go. The Brewers pitching staff now looking pretty solid heading down the stretch, and I'll dive into a little bit more of that a little bit later. And then relief pitchers always get overlooked. Unless you're a closer, you're like, well, who's really actually being a solid middle relief guy? Jason Adam for the Padres. We added him to our Team USA roster about a month ago, maybe even more. He made the team. I'm really excited for that. You need those guys in there. Get themselves an appreciation. So those long relievers, mid relievers, the guys who get the holes, who are keeping that and bridging that gap from the starters to the closer every single time. Now, any kind of All-Star break and All-Star game, there's always going to be controversy. And obviously, we had one that popped, and I mentioned his name earlier, Jacob Mizorowski, brand new rookie, 5 stars. Everyone's freaking out. How did he make the All-Star game? Only because he throws fast. This is a bunch of nonsense. There's too many better pitchers out there that should have made it. They're overlooking it. Well, first of all, when have the Brewers ever been a media darling or a fan darling or a love of MLB in general? Come on, let's be serious. This was the kid can pitch. He showed it, multiple over 100 miles an hour. He has no control over being placed in the All-Star game over other guys. That's not his. He's not begging and paying someone to get on the roster. I know it's a fake outrage because it did come out. And I think Fox personally, I'm looking at you, Ken Rosenthal. You're a jerk. You're an idiot. You have fun with your stupid bow ties. I know they go for good causes, but you look like a clown when you come off with your stupid arguments and your stupid interviews and your stupid articles that attack people. You don't do any research. To stand there in the dugout and start having very awkward conversations about, well, do you feel how you're being treated in there? Do people hate you? Basically, are people angry with you? Have people talk to you? Making the poor guy feel like he's being persecuted by being in the locker room at an All-Star game. He showed up because he was asked to. There were 7 or 8 other pitchers who either they started on Sunday or opted out not to show up. He took an invite. He was later on down the list. It wasn't his choice. If you want to be mad at somebody, go be mad at who picked the roster. Don't be mad at the poor kid who started 5 times and was invited to make the NL All-Star team. So Ken Rosenthal, be better with your interviews, skills, and your research going forward. This isn't the first time that you've pulled some nonsense. But in the end, overall, MLB should have done a better job. Praising the kid, but saying, when it comes out, hey, he's not being put ahead of other guys because no one else had a chance. He's worthy of the cause. He is there. If you have a problem with it, how about you talk to the other pitchers who opted out or obviously pitched on Sunday for their normal club and couldn't make it? Be happy we get young guys in baseball. We keep talking about we need a youth movement in MLB. We need a youth movement in baseball to attract the younger crowd. They put a young kid in there who can throw 100 miles an hour regularly, and people are mad. Buck up and grow up. You know what, Philly fans? Deal with it. You take your anger out. Go win a World Series. How about that? I'm happy the Phillies are paying Suarez his All-Star bonus. It's great. Nothing you can do about it. He didn't get invited. Move on. Mizorowski, he got invited. It's an All-Star game. It's an exhibition. Move on. One other player, speaking of like guys who I'm really happy to see on that team. First of all, we need to start paying more attention to the Marlins, but Kyle Stowers out there in left field, young little player, playing well for the Marlins. That whole entire team is playing real well right now. But he looks like he belonged. I think that he might not be his only All-Star trip in his career. He has a chance to really jump there. And then Jacob Wilson, the shortstop, getting a chance to start in the All-Star game for the Athletics. His dad being an All-Star with the Pirates back in the day. Jacob Wilson can play some ball. And if you pay attention to the Athletics, there's a lot of young talent in that lineup. He's just one of many. Him and Rooker. Rooker put on a nice show with the Home Run Derby. I was excited about that. Get a chance for him to showcase his skills. You have Nick Kurtz there coming off. Lawrence Butler. You got a bunch of guys in that entire lineup for the Athletics that I think they're going to blend together, build together. And when they open that ballpark officially in Vegas in a couple of years, that group is going to be ready to put on a show. Speaking of the Home Run Derby, first of all, ESPN, your split screen was absolutely horrendous. Brutal. What are you doing? You saw a pitch and then you saw a ball laying in the outfield. You couldn't even see the distance of the home runs. We had more airtime when the kids are running around the outfield trying to catch the balls or the guy robbing it. They actually did see the launch angle and the velocity, the exit velocity off the bat. Give us a full home run derby. We don't need this split screen nonsense. If you're going to do that, do it during the minor league one or do it during spring training, but we don't need it during the home run derby. Everybody's tuning in to watch monstrosity of the home runs, the distance, power. We don't want to see a split screen nonsense junk. Please be better. Stop trying to ruin games. Stop trying to ruin things. The home run derby itself was perfect, and you ruined it. And look what we have now. You have a short time limit. Yeah, well, I think we've overcorrected. Let's let them get the outs. Let the boys just swing away. Stop making it so time condensed. Give them 10 outs. If they hit 30 home runs or they hit 5, give them the 10 outs as opposed to the clock and the pitches. Let's get back to something we actually want to do. And also bring Chris Berman back if he wants to. Do the back. Let's get some of that going right now because the on-field table, it lacked energy. The camera screen was bad. I know you're giving up on ESPN, you're giving up on MLB. It's probably like just be done with it. In the last year, we really don't care. But you went out with a real bad taste in your mouth, and I think people are probably happy that you're no longer be the main baseball content. There's so many things you could do, and you found a way to ruin it or just not give it enough juice. Now, at the contestant side, Cal Raleigh was a lock, 38 to lead MLB at the break, won it, really put on a massive display. Him and his dad pitching to him, his brother catching. The three of them, they were locked in sync, and Cal Raleigh he proved he is more than just a one-hit wonder. I got a feeling the All-Star break was going to be great for him. He's going to carry it forward in the second half. To really make him be better is getting the Mariners to the playoffs. If the Mariners in the playoffs, Cal Raleigh's appointment television. James Wood, we've talked about him before as a really, really young, impressive left-handed hitter for the Nationals. 24 home runs at the break, 7th in Major League Baseball. He was a lock there. He should have been there. He didn't have probably the greatest show he wanted, but he deserved to be there based on his first half. Junior Caminero and Byron Buxton both deserve to be there, especially Buxton being from Baxley, Georgia, being back in his home state, have a chance to really showcase him being fully healthy and being a must-see television player. Obviously had the cycle there to wrap the first half. Caminero having 23 home runs, Buxton having 21 in the first half, 8th and 9th in Major League Baseball. Those were locks, and they both did it real well, and they put on a show. They were there where they're supposed to be. I think we're all really looking forward to Acuna Jr. in the home run derby. Obviously, had some back issues before the break, so Matt Olson taking over. You needed a Brave. You needed the home guy there. Also, Olson being from Georgia, being a Brave, being in Atlanta, makes perfect sense. He has a sweet little left-handed swing there to the chop house in right field. He put on a nice little show. I think everyone wanted a bit more, but he was deserving to be there. I really like that touch. Brent Rooker, people are like, well, why is it athletic here? Why is Brent Rooker in the home run derby? Well, number one, we'll talk about later. There's a lot of studs who just don't want to do it anymore. Judge, Alonso, Vlad Guerrero Jr., and Tani, they're like, yeah, we've been there. We've done it. You've got to find some other guys who have some pop in their bat and want to showcase. Right now, Brent Rooker has 20 home runs so far this season. He has 89 home runs since the start of 2023. So 2.5 years, he almost has 90 home runs. Not bad for a kid who plays in Oakland and now in Sacramento. I think that's just a tipping point of his career. He's a 2-time All-Star. I got a feeling he'll be back. There were some people who were like, why is O'Neill Cruz in the home run derby? He only has 16 home runs. He really hasn't played before. Who is this guy? Well, number one, he plays in Pittsburgh. He's really, really good. He has a lot of tools, very raw. I think still has a lot he's a lot of untapped potential as a player overall, defensively and offensively. I think just getting him more consistent will only boost his stock and his name will keep popping. But as you saw, when he connects, those balls will fly. He hits missiles. That's the reason why they call it cruise missiles in Pittsburgh. The dude will send them out. It's not the number, but when he connects, they will fly. And you saw that a couple of well over 450, one hitting 500. Definitely deserving. He put on the show. It gave it spectacle and gave a fire and a sizzle to it that I think everybody wanted. The one person that I really had issues with being in the home run derby, I know it was the last edition, and probably other guys were turning him down. They were scrambling. Just like Jake Mazeroski, you had to put somebody in there to fill. I think Mazeroski should have been there no matter what. I'm a Brewer fan. I don't care if you think it's biased. He deserved it. He's fire. Just like the same argument last year with Paul Skeens. Just because Paul Skeens had 12 starts and Mazeroski had 5 doesn't mean they have the talent and their national attention. But in this case, Jazz Chisholm making the home run derby. Are we really that desperate for an 8th hitter? What a joke. He plays in a bandbox in Yankee Stadium. So, yes, he's going to probably have some more home runs that he shouldn't hit anywhere else. He has 94 career home runs in 514 career games. That's averaging 16 a season. He's a left-handed hitter. He plays in Yankee Stadium. He has a very short right porch. We all know that. That's not biased. It's true. That right field line is very, very tight. If you want to prove it why he's not a home run hitter and he has no business being in the home run derby, he has 13 home runs this year in Yankee Stadium. He He has 4 on the road. He's hitting 308 at Yankee Stadium this year. He's hitting 172 on the road. He is a product of being in Yankee Stadium. He's built for that place. He shouldn't be in the home run derby. Let's start looking at deeper splits. They tried to make him the face of baseball and putting him on the MLB cover a couple of years back. Like, it feels forced. He's a good player, but he is not a top 5 icon that the league needs to be throwing out there. He's a very good player, but not something that needs to be put on the stage. There are better options. I know I just mentioned Judge, Ohtani, Schwarber, Alonso. They probably passed on it. Eugenio Suarez should have been in the home run derby. He has 31 home runs. He was in Atlanta already. He didn't participate. 31 home runs. That's top 5 in all of baseball. Why is Eugenio Suarez not in the home run derby? You want to get him some love? What, is he about to be traded and they didn't want him to get hurt? Is that it? He got dinged and he got hit on the pinky in the game anyway. He was batting. Put him in the home run derby. Let him play. He could have showcased more. That was a big miss by baseball. Or, hey, Chicago Cubs, large fan base. You want to pump them up? They keep pumping PCA at a national level from a baseball perspective. He has 25 home runs. What about Riley Green? He has 24. All 3 of those guys were there. All 3 of those guys could have been in the home run derby filled in that Jazz Chisholm spot. Not sure if they turned it down, but I would have taken one of those 3 over Jazz Chisholm. And then back to the point, Taylor Ward, he should have made it. He has 21 at the break. He didn't make the All-Star game, but Jazz Chisholm, who has 16, is in the home run derby and making the All-Star. Come on. Come on. I think they're trying to, and that comes to me, they're forcing Yankees down our throat as opposed to looking at the baseball. And you want to grow the game, you need to find ways to get every player from every team, or at least have a chance to showcase a bunch of stars who are all out there. All right, enough whining from my perspective. Going from the home run derby, the extra innings swing off. Now that was a really, really cool thing. I know I personally hate the runner on second to start the 10th inning. I think at least if they're going to do it, push it to the 12th inning. But in an all-star venue, getting out there and having a mini extra home run derby, a swing off, was really, really cool. It kept people engaged. It's late. Obviously, that game ends about 11:30, almost midnight. People got to drive home. But you keep people engaged on TV. You keep people engaged in the stadium. You see, all right, who can hit 3 home runs on 3 pitches? And you get the list there. Yes, all right. There were players who left early and had to catch flights, which I think is also kind of a joke. You're there for the whole entire game. Why does half the team leave the dugout and fly home in the middle of the ball game? Be better, MLB. It was another missed opportunity. Be better. They know it's the All-Star game. But Schwarber coming up, 3 for 3, getting the MVP, in essence, walking it off. Really cool little twist, and I like that. The best part of the All-Star weekend, number one thing, there was not a dry eye at all. If you were in the stadium, you were watching on TV, or if you're watching the replay being tweeted out or put on Instagram or put on TikTok or put on Facebook or whatever system you're using, the Hank Aaron 715 tribute on July 15th, 715 in Atlanta. Absolutely tremendous. Putting the film on the field, watching it that way, darkening the entire stadium, everyone having their phones out or having little light lit devices, the volume, watching the old footage, hearing the old call. If you didn't get goosebumps and you didn't have a tear in your eye at one point, seeing how amazing it was, I don't know if you have a pulse, but that was one of the most amazing things baseball has done. That, I think, last year, going down to Birmingham and playing the game there, doing the game out in the Field of Dreams, those were cool venues. But the way that they did the tribute on the field, I know it's not the same stadium, and it's not even, it's up in Cobb County. It's not down by where Old Fulton County Stadium was. But being in that area on the same day, that was just really cool. Being a Brewers fan, my dad grew up with the Milwaukee Braves. He watched Eddie Matthews, Warren Spahn, and Hank Aaron as a kid. He sat on the third base side. He got to watch Hank and Eddie Matthews play. The top, obviously, two best players in his entire life for the two of them. There's a connection in Milwaukee because Hank obviously came back and played for the Brewers, and then he played in Atlanta. There's things like that when you see it happen, if you were alive to witness it when it did happen, awesome. If you get a chance to reminisce and see it now, that's twice the wins. But the best part about it was to show all the people who either don't understand the significance or never really connected it, giving them a chance to pass that on. These are things that we need to pass on. The Willie Mays catch in center field, Hank Aaron 715, those kind of things need to be regurgitated for generations upon generations upon generations. That's carrying forward a tradition, carrying forward a legacy, carrying forward something that means a lot more. There are multiple, obviously significant elements. Number one is baseball history. It's civil rights movement. The two of them had made huge strides and kept pushing to be making things better and better and better. That's where they're making plays in those fields, in those games, showing off their skill set, showing off their abilities, showing off their genuine love for the teammates and being tremendous human beings and humanitarians. All those things got to be passed on. So the Hank Aaron tribute, hitting the fields. I watched it, I think, like 15 times, almost immediately after it happened live. Kind of moving from MLB away from All-Star Weekend in the trade deadline's looming. And this means when the trade deadline hits, that means we're in the playoff stretch. And through the trade deadline, I think it's July 31st or August 1st, the end of the month, basically. There's a lot of moving pieces that are going to come into play. With the wild card spots being 3 instead of 1, it leaves a lot of teams technically in contention. So do we get a lot of movement? Who's willing to push that first button and say we're all in, or we're going to make a bigger deal to go get a player? Or maybe we all realize we're not in this thing in the long run. We need to start selling some pieces. First thing I'm going to look at, Guardians, Royals, and Twins. They're all 11.5 games or more behind the Tigers from the AL Central. So winning the division is probably out of the scope of possibility for all three of those clubs. The Twins are 4 games out of the last wild card spot. The Royals and Guardians are 4.5 out of that last wild card spot. Is that something that either of those clubs see attainable? The Royals right now, they have some young offensive pieces. Their pitching staff's decent. Lugo, Waka, which is pitching good. Cole Reagan's being injured out. I think that puts a little stamp on their thoughts of the season of making another playoff run like they did last year. Their bullpen, I think it's okay. Estevez and Yersig are the 2 leads back there. I think the Royals have a chance to make a run and go get something. So I don't see them moving anybody right now. And honestly, you're not moving Jack Caglione. You're not moving Witt. You're not moving Salvador Perez. He's a legend there. So most of those guys are probably staying. The only one from the Royals that I would see if they fell out of it, if they had a rough start in the second half, in the next week and a half, and it gets to July 30th, and they're now 8-9 games out of the last wild card spot, is Michael Garcia a name you put out there? Because the third base market, I'll talk about it in more detail later, the third base market for a lot of these contenders is a serious need. Michael Garcia being an all-star adds a lot of value and could be tantalizing if they want to keep adding depth to the organization in Kansas City. Maybe you ship Garcia out if you've already decided you're not getting him. The Twins, they're that kind of mystery. There's a lot of injury histories between Buxton and Royce Lewis, obviously Carlos Correa. Pitching Lopez has been okay, but who's going to be that number 2? Joe Ryan's been Is Griffin Jacks ship that as a bullpen piece? And where do the Twins, how do they jump out of the gate? And if they can get themselves within maybe 2 games of that final wildcard spot or 3, maybe they keep themselves in it. They actually go try to acquire somebody else. But if they hit like a 6 or 7 games out of the final wildcard spot, maybe start looking to move someone. I know Byron Buxton has a no trade clause, so he's not leaving. But maybe they try to shake things up a little bit there in Minnesota. The Guardians, Ramirez doesn't go anywhere. Steven Kwan's not going anywhere. The pitchers aren't really going anywhere. Maybe outside of maybe Chad Smith in the bullpen or Chris Smith. The only bat that I could see them shipping out would be Carlos Santana at a veteran, like a cheap little DH move somewhere to a team that's on the fringe. But there's really the pieces from the Cleveland Guardians right now aren't tradable. So I think they just stand pat and they move forward. Look at the Orioles. I think they're out of the race from an American League perspective and of the AL Central, AL East and the AL wildcard. They have a lot of young pieces, probably not moving anybody, but Cedric Mullins is an interesting target. Does someone need a corner outfield help? He has some pop in his bat. He's been in the playoffs. That's the name for the Orioles, I think, that could be moved here quickly. And I think his decision really bases on the next guy, the White Sox. They're out of the playoff hunt. They've been out of it since February. Do they actually trade Luis Robert Jr.? He has pop. He has speed. He can play great center field. If Luis Robert Jr. is traded, Mullins becomes the number 2. If Robert's off the table and the White Sox say, hey, we're going to move forward with our rebuild with him and he wants to be here, I think Mullins actually gets a little more value. So the 2 of them are going to probably be tied at the hip. Looking at the Athletics, I mentioned the lineup. The young guys in the lineup are probably all going to stay. They're not going to trade anybody. Soderstrom, all those guys that you were mentioned earlier, they're not getting moved. The only guy I could see the Athletics trading is Luis Severino. He's already been pretty irritated and vocal about pitching in Sacramento, hates it, it roots the ERA. If somebody needs a veteran back end starter, I got a feeling they'll find a way to get him out. Maybe go back to the Mets or the Yankees. He's been both those places and had some success. So, and they both have some pitching rotation needs. So that could probably be a match made here pretty quickly. Another one, we kind of heard some interesting things with the Red Sox. They currently hold the second wild card spot, a game behind the Yankees. They're right there in contention. For some reason, there's been rumors floating around about Jared Duran or Alex Bregman, one of them getting shipped out, especially if Bregman can't come to a contract extension. You just traded Devers. You're in the playoff hunt. You're deep in the playoff hunt. Do you trade Duran, who's been hitting, and shake up the core of the locker room? Or do you take a veteran Alex Bregman who's been through the playoff battles many, many, many times, and you ship him out where he's a chance to boost his stock going forward and maybe have a run down the stretch and get more money in a new contract? I don't see the Red Sox trading. I think the Red Sox go out and make moves to bring people in and try to solidify that bullpen and solidify that rotation. I don't think they're going to be trading their hitters just because they have contract issues. The Red Sox they're in a moment right now to go win, and I don't think they're making any deals to shed payroll anytime soon. One thing I mentioned was the third base market. You kind of look at the Yankees, Cubs, Mets, Brewers, Blue Jays, and Mariners. They all probably could use an upgrade, especially offensively at third base. The Blue Jays, I think they have youthful players that can hang out. Like Ernie Clement has played really well, but I think they could add a much more of a powerful bat at third base, and they wouldn't be mad at it. But you look at the third base market. Number one, Henry Suarez, the number one guy on the list. So, are the Yankees, or the Cubs, or the Mets? Who's willing to shell out some big time prospects for the Diamondbacks to go get him? Okay, Brian Hayes. I keep hearing this. Why is Key Bryant? His name's out in the trade sphere as a third base prospect. The Cubs and the Tigers are interested in him. He's hitting 238, folks. 2 home runs, 31 RBIs, an OPS of 576, and a slug of 293. He's not doing anything for the Pirates. The Pirates need offense. Why do you want to take him off their hands? That seems ridiculous. The dude has never been able to hit. He is great defensively. His offense is, I mean, you can go if you're looking for an improved bat, go try to trade for Luis Rengifo from the Angels or Brooks Lee from the Twins. Brian Hayes is terrible. The Pirates drafted him and paid him, and there's nothing that I've seen from him offensively that gives me a value that he should be in the lineup every day. He's only in the lineup because he's getting paid. That's it. If you want to trade for him, go ahead, but you're not going to get the offensive help that you want. One guy that I think could be a real cheap pickup, Ryan McMahon for the Rockies. Obviously, they're going to be sellers. He's had good years offensively in the past. This year he's batting, 210, 215. He looks miserable. I think he's looked miserable last year too. Maybe you can get him on the cheap and give him a change of scenery to turn it around. So keep an eye on that. The Rockies, how they try to rebuild that entire franchise. But Ryan McMahon, a veteran bat, played third base for a while. Maybe he needs to change the scenery, get a different lineup, get himself re-energized. He could be a buy low candidate at the deadline to really help. And then obviously the biggest wild card, I mentioned Maikel Garcia earlier, but the biggest wild card in the state of Missouri is Nolan Arenado. If the Cardinals fall farther out, I know he has adjusted no trade. Do they find ways to ship him out and keep that rebuild going? Because you're starting to see some kinks in the arm right now from the Cardinals. They're starting to fade a little bit. Where do you blink and hold on to him and hope you make a resurgence and keep that organizational depth limited, or do you make a way to trade him to the Yankees or I don't think you trade him to the Cubs. You trade him to the Yankees to get a couple big time prospects, especially in the outfield. I know you have the outfielders. The Yankees have prospect outfielders to send out. I think maybe Spencer, like adding Spencer for that team, could be putting that package back to the Cardinals for Nolan Arenado, and I think everybody's happy. So we'll see how that plays out. That's a name to keep watching as a big blockbuster perspective at third base. Keep looking through it. Mitch Keller's on the Yankees' radar. The Yankees do need pitching. I think he can be moved to the Yankees or the Mets. The Pirates' Brian Reynolds has a no-trade clause to the Yankees, Mets, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Giants, and Padres, a.k.a. he doesn't want to be traded to New York, California, or Canada. Veteran bat, corner outfielder, very good hitter. I think he'd be a great fit in Houston or Seattle. Houston right now has some injuries in the outfield. You put Brian Reynolds there in that lineup, gives him an extra little pop. That would be a sneaky little move to make a playoff run. Seattle, their lineup, they still need some help. You have Rosarena, Julio, and Cal Raleigh, but get a fourth bat in there to help support. Might not be a bad idea as a veteran going to try to make a run at the playoffs. A DH out there, The Braves are definitely going to be open for business on certain players. Not everybody. But I think Marcell Ozuna is going to get dealt. Who wants that power back and that playoff bat deep down the stretch? I think there's a whole host of teams that'd be interested in. Seattle, Houston, I think would be two very good spots for him. I don't see them trading to the Phillies or the Mets. They're not putting him in the National League. They're not. The Braves would probably have to get a lot to trade him to the Cubs. Don't see him getting the ship to San Francisco or San Diego or LA. So somewhere in the American League, and that puts Houston and Seattle right back in there, as well as potentially adding another bat to the Yankees or adding another bat to the Blue Jays, send them north of the border. I haven't talked much about pitching. I think the first domino in pitching perspective is going to be Sandy Alcantara. Had a nice little stretch there in June, pitched really, really well. Still getting over that injury. Starting to see some glimmers of him being back a little bit more. Is some team out there, it really needs pitching depth, willing to pay up and give the Marlins two top-tier prospects, maybe even three, for Alcantara, and not seeing consistent dominant effort that he had when he won the Cy Young. Right now, you're kind of hoping, and you're like, man, I wish he could get back, be fully healthy. Is a pitcher on the market? Do we go get him? And then also on the other end, the Marlins, your lineup is starting to play better. Yes, you need more bats in that entire overall organization, but if you can maybe hold on to it for another year or two and see if those young guys keep developing offensively, you have a nice little team there in Miami that can actually contend for a wild card spot. And so interesting to see how that plays out. And I think the Diamondbacks with all the injuries on their end, they're going to be in big time sell mode. You're only 5.5 out of the final wild card spot, but that pitching is taking a beating. You got a lot of guys who are the bullpen wise and starting wise. It could be a problem. So let's see what the Diamondbacks sort of start out with, but I think that might be something to be very interested in how they approach their selling. Speaking of the postseason, as we get to the trade deadline, who actually wants to get there? As of July 18th, 5:15, 5:20 here, Eastern Standard Time, AL division leaders are the Blue Jays by 2 games, Tigers by 11.5, Astros by 5. NL division leaders are the Phillies by half a game, the Cubs by 1, the Dodgers by 5.5. The AL wildcard picture, Yankees on the top spot, 1 game up on the Red Sox, who are in second in the wildcard standings. The Red Sox are up a game on the Mariners, who have the last spot. The outside looking in, the Rays are a game and a half behind. The Rangers are 3.5 out. The Twins and Angels are 4 out, and the Royals and Guardians are 4.5 out. The Rangers have an outline because the Rangers have the offense. If you get that pitching staff going for the Rangers, and especially that bullpen, they might be that one dark horse to sneak up. The Mariners need more bats. If the Mariners bats don't get more than just Raleigh, Julio, and Arozarena, that might falter. The Rays, they're that pesky team. I think they're shown they can play. So the Rangers and Rays versus the Mariners and Red Sox, not just division races, but also for the wild card. That's going to be a fun little circus. So we'll keep an eye on here as we progress through the rest of July and August and September. And then NL wild card, Brewers are on the top spot. They're 4 up on that last spot, so they have a nice little buffer. They're 1.5 games up on the Mets, so they have a buffer in between the first and second spot. Padres own the final spot, and they have a half-game lead on the Giants. The Cardinals are a game and a half out, so that really is determining the Nolan Arenado thing, where the Cardinals can stand. They do have a lot of games with the Brewers and Cubs coming up. The Reds are 2.5 games out of the final wildcard spot. Diamondbacks, as we mentioned, are 5.5 out. Marlins are 7.5 out. Braves are 9.5. And the Pirates, Nationals, and Rockies, they just need to be sellers and move forward toward developing in the winter meetings. In terms of developing, let's look down at the farm. Obviously, Mizrachi's been playing really well. He came in, he's throwing a lot of gas. But I want to focus really quick on Athletics power hitter, first baseman Nick Kurtz. That dude's just been crushing baseballs. That left-handed power in that lineup, they have solid top to bottom. They're in Sacramento for the Athletics organization. So Nick Kurtz has come in and made a big statement. Chase Burns has pitched really well. You're seeing, obviously, Jacob Mizrachi throwing a lot of lightning and thunder out there. So young kids get some playing time, and I'm all for it. You get the kids up, let them show what they could do. And as one thing for a lot of these younger teams, the teams that lose, the draft is a big focus. We had the draft during the All-Star break in Atlanta. It was very, very heavy in pitching and shortstops. You're going to see a repeated theme here in the top 10. First pick overall, the Nationals went with Eli Wiltz, high school shortstop from Oklahoma. His dad's a former Angels outfielder, Reggie Willits. With depth to the shortstop in the draft, I was shocked they didn't address their pitching. The Nationals, yes, they have Mackenzie Gore, but they need some more. They could have taken a college stud like Cade Anderson there at number 1 overall and probably got him to the up top quicker. So going with the shortstop, I think they're looking at a longer rebuild there in Washington. That's not the direction I would have taken. I would have gone Cade Anderson at number 1 overall, but Hey, I don't work for the Nationals, and they just obviously fired their manager and GM like a week before the draft. The Angels, they're in an interesting spot trying to rebuild that entire organization. They made a twist, and I think it caught a lot of people off guard through a major curveball. They didn't take Kate Anderson. They didn't take Liam Doyle. They didn't take a host of other guys. They went with Tyler Bremer out of UC Santa Barbara. Probably went with him based on getting some feedback after the draft. Signability was probably better. And if they spend less money on him, that gives them a chance to maybe take a little more risky pick later on down the road and throw more money at that guy. So they probably did this with, we have the second overall pick, gives us a bigger pool. I take a guy I can sign for a little bit less and use the extra money that I'm allotted to sign somebody else a little more, might want to entice a little bit more later on down the draft. That's probably their approach there. Because if you're not aware, especially with some of these guys they don't have to officially come out. If they get drafted and they still have eligibility back in college or can go back to high school, they will go. Or from high school, they can go play college ball. If they're in college, they can go back. You don't have to, once you declare you're out. So you have signability issues unless you have no eligibility whatsoever. So that also probably played into the situation. Mariners get richer. They already have amazing pitching. They drafted Kate Anderson. If you've watched any of the College World Series top to bottom, LSU left-handed starter, dude's just nasty, nasty good. He'll be up probably somewhere in 2026 pitching for the Mariners in that rotation. Rockies, fourth overall pick. Major issues across the entire franchise there, top to bottom organizational issues. They still have yet in their entire existence to figure out how to develop pitching and get consistent pitching in that team and up to the major league level there in Colorado. There are a lot of pitchers staring them in the face. They went a completely different route. They went with shortstop, third baseman Ethan Holiday, high school player out of Oklahoma, son of Matt Holiday, former Rocky, brother of Jackson Holiday, plays for the Orioles. This one was a real head scratcher, but obviously going with high school shortstop, it's signed a long rebuild, and they aren't ready to invest in top heavy pitching now. I would still have done it. You need as much pitching as you possibly can get. So his bat had better develop really, really fast. I don't think he'll be up in Colorado until at least 2028, but they have a plan in place. Who knows what it is, but he had better become the franchise player like Nolan Arenado or Tulowitzki. And maybe this time they'll actually keep him around instead of trading him after 5 or 6 years. Look at the Cardinals. There's a lot of issues in that entire organization down the road. A lot of lack of depth. They went with Bulldog, power left-handed pitcher from Tennessee, Liam Doyle. If you've seen him on the mound, he is very intense. He can throw fire. He can bring it. I don't think he'll spend much time in the minor leagues. I think he's up with the club in 2026, but I really, really like the pick there from the Cardinals. For the Pirates, they also took a pitcher. They took probably the best high school pitcher in the draft, Seth Hernandez out of California, 6'4", has an above average 12-6 curveball. So not only is his fastball solid, he can bring it top to bottom and really give you something to look at in that range. I don't think he's going to be rushed to the majors because you have Chandler and also you have Paul Skeens there. So I think he's going to be held him out and be a 2028. This is just me thinking out, if Skeens leaves as a free agent in 27, you have Hernandez to follow him up there in that rotation. And then becomes Chandler Hernandez. So I think that's also a spectacle. We'll have him play out in the minors, get him developed, and he becomes our plug and play after Skeens either is ready to rock and roll or he leaves. Next up with the Marlins, they still need some bats. They have a lot of pitching. Their offense is still struggling at the major league level and throughout the entire system. They took shortstop Avea Arquette out of Oregon State, top college position player in my opinion. Stayed 6'5", probably gonna be a third baseman down the road when he hits the majors. But right now played shortstop in college. He hit a ton of home runs. I want to say 25 last year for the Beavers. So the Marlins need bats. I don't think he's gonna spend much time down there. I think 2026 he'll be up with the club. Blue Jays, I was shocked they didn't go pitcher here, but then when you kind of look at it a little deeper, it kind of made sense of where they were going. They took shortstop JoJo Parker, high schooler out of Mississippi. It's probably the replacement for Bichette. Bichette is probably the free agent and leave. I still thought they would go pitcher and sort of have that pitching depth because they do have some aging veterans in that rotation. He's probably being looked at as the future there for the Blue Jays at shortstop, but they need to grow defensively. His bat's really good. That's going to push him through. He needs to grow defensively and get better with the glove and get a stronger arm. But he'll be up probably around 28, 29. And the Reds also are very good. They had the ninth pick in the draft of developing players, getting shortstop, getting the best guy available. Obviously, Ellie De La Cruz is a phenom. They drafted Steele Hall, high school player at Alabama. Solid reviews across the board, offensively and defensively. Nothing else like eye popping, but very, very consistent offensively and defensively. He'll be probably a 2028, 2029 guy, but at some point if he sticks with the organization. The 10th pick in the draft, shortstop Billy Carlson, high schooler out of California by the White Sox. Amazing defensively, tremendous arm, can really pick at the ball pretty well. His bat needs some work, but he can play defensively. I think that's going to help him be a solid player. You can grab the ball, field the ball, play, defend your position, throw across the diamond. 2028 target if he can get that bat going for the White Sox. Just a few draft picks, favorite picks of mine outside the top 10. Pick 11, Jamie Arnold to the Athletics from Florida State. Stud left-handed pitcher. Really like that pick. The Red Sox took Oklahoma starting pitcher Kyson Witherspoon. Kid has some nasty heat on this fastball. He's from Jacksonville, so it's also a little pop for him. The Brewers took third baseman, first baseman Andrew Fisher out of Tennessee. The Phillies took Arkansas starting pitcher Gage Wood, the guy who had the College World Series no-hitter. If you want to go back and watch that film, it's pretty good. The Guardians got some pop, took Texas A&M outfielder Jace Laviette. He can hit some bombs. He hit some real moon shots in 2024. He's injured in 25, but a nice little outfield pop there to add to the Guardians lineup hopefully in a couple of years. Orioles took Arkansas shortstop Wahiwa Aloy. I mean, if you watch that kid pick it at Arkansas the past couple of years, he can play defensively. Obviously, there's guys who are blocking him right now at the big club, but shortstops can play anywhere, whether it's third base, second base, outfield. He'll be a player they can develop. Mariners selected North Carolina catcher Luke Stevenson. I thought he was, in my opinion, the best catcher in the draft. Rays took Arizona outfield Brendan Summerhill. He made some tremendous plays in that first game versus North Carolina in their super regional. And I think the effort he showed in that sparked them in games 2 and 3 to win that regional and go to Omaha. In the second round, the Braves took Florida State shortstop Alex Lodis. If you watch Florida State baseball, there's a reason why they were a top 5 team in the country. That kid can play offensively and defensively. And the Braves have had shortstop issues for a while, so I got a feeling he'll be fast-tracked to the club. And then the Red Sox in the second round took LSU starting pitcher Alex Ianson. He was the number 2. He was a Saturday starter. If you watch him in the College World Series, if you watch him any kind of Saturday in Baton Rouge, the kid's filthy. He will be a stud in pitching for Boston very, very soon. I think the draft, they shortened the rounds, only 10 rounds now. Sometimes I think the one thing that lacks our pop is that it takes time for some of these guys to get up to the squad, being on that Major League ballpark, showcasing the name of the face. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind in the minors. But I think lately you're starting to see if college players are ready, they're getting them up there quicker. We need to get the best players on the diamond at the Major League club and stop killing service time. I don't care about service time anymore. Get the guys up there and let them play. As we've been going through previous episodes, as we move to this mound visit here, we start to have some discussions. The first thing I want to look at is we keep building our Team USA roster for the World Baseball Classic. Try to help out Marty Russell put that entire roster together. It's come up in March 2026. Team USA looking to get back and win the championship, win that title. They lost last time to Japan. They won it the year before. So how can we put together this most loaded roster of Americans to go out there and get the title back and win it and defend our game? Obviously, Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens are automatic locks. They were from the very start. I have added Zach Wheeler and Kyle Schwarber from the Phillies. I've added Mookie Betts from the Dodgers, Josh Hader from the Astros as our closer. I added Bobby Witt Jr. 3 weeks before it was publicly announced. So Bobby Witt Jr. is on our squad. Griffin Jacks, the middle relief pitcher for the Twins. He's actually an Air Force grad, and his wife is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. So you can't get much more Team USA than that. I want Nolan Arenado on my team. Defensively, he's amazing on the hot corner. He was on that team that won the championship. I want that drive. As I mentioned earlier, Jason Adam, the relief pitcher from the Padres. I need a bulldog in my bullpen. Cal Raleigh, we added 2 weeks before. He was actually officially announced on the team, so Cal Raleigh obviously is on our team. I also want Mason Miller in my bullpen, whether he's closing or middle relief. That fastball is ridiculous. The two that were added to the squad today, both Detroit Tigers, Riley Green in the outfield and Tarek Skubal. If you give me a Skeens, Zach Wheeler, Tarek Skubal, 1, 2, 3 in that rotation, good luck. Riley Green has proven time and time again that he is an elite outfielder defensively and offensively, and he belongs in my team. And actually, I want him starting on Team USA come game 1. Now we're going to move to our deep drive to left with our power rankings here. As of July 18th, coming into the second half of the season, my top spot, Detroit Tigers, best team in baseball right now. Number 2, LA Dodgers. Number 3, Chicago Cubs. Number 4, the Houston Astros. Number 5, the Philadelphia Phillies. Number 6, the Toronto Blue Jays. Number 7, the New York Mets. Number 8, the New York Yankees. Number 9, the Milwaukee Brewers. And holding in the 10th spot, the Boston Red Sox. In the lack of power rankings, so my bottom five, the Atlanta Braves are still there because there's too much talent on that roster for them to be in fourth place in the NL East. They are absolutely terrible. And somehow they have a +2 run differential. I don't make it make sense. The Pirates right below them. The Athletics right below them. Even though they have a -134 run differential. Their pitching staff is terrible. If the Athletics, outside of Mason Miller, can find consistent pitching, that offense should be able to contain it and get it going. So Athletics got to get some pitching there. White Sox, and then the worst team in baseball, shocker, Mile High, Colorado Rockies, and that's not even the two. The White Sox and the Rockies are abysmal, but at least there's a glimmer of hope sometimes when the White Sox play. Just some final thoughts. Look, the second half, there's going to be a lot of chaos. The trade deadline's going to come in. Obviously, we don't have the crazy expansion in September like we had in the past, so those aren't going to be really infatuating rosters either. The trade deadline, I think it's lost some of the juice because we have an expanded playoff field. So who is willing to make that move in the next few weeks is going to be really intriguing. Next time we'll talk, we'll look at who got traded, and we'll dive into some of those playoff matchups and start finding a little more ideas on where that playoff format's going to be. Had a great time talking to you. Hopefully you enjoyed the All-Star break. Please dive in. We got a lot of great baseball down the stretch here in pennant races all across the board. And we'll start talking playoffs and who's going to actually be there and who's going to really have a chance legit to win an AL and NL pennant and get themselves to the Fall Classic. Thanks for joining the Power Rally podcast. We're connected to Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well as the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter, X, at SS_2Fresh. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com and a co-host of our flagship podcast, the Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can find that on Twitter and X at IRConfidencePod. If you're looking to follow anything more, at Spinnable Sports on Twitter and X, just like I said it, at Spinnable Sports, and also obviously at SpinnableSports.com and the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. We'll catch you next time with more chatter from the Power Alley. Bye, y'all.